The ocean was silent except for the low hum of the submersible as it descended into the black abyss. Thousands of meters below the surface, light faded to nothing, replaced by the soft pulse of sonar and the rhythmic flicker of instrument panels inside the tiny capsule. Drive. Rose Dawson leaned forward, her face illuminated by the dim blue glow of the screens. She had been here before, not in this exact place, but close enough to feel the same chill of memory creeping through her veins. It had been decades since the world first discovered the wreck of the Titanic, but tonight, something new was calling from beneath the waves. Through the glass dome, the ocean was endless darkness. The searchlights cut through it in narrow beams, sweeping over the skeletal remains of a once great ship. The bow of the Titanic emerged slowly from the gloom, her name still faintly visible in rusted iron letters. It was like seeing a ghost frozen in time, a reminder of both tragedy and beauty, preserved by the cold silence of the deep. Rose pressed her gloved hand to the glass, her breath fogging slightly as she whispered to herself, "Hello again." The pilot, a young marine explorer named Liam, adjusted the controls and guided the submersible lower. "We're at the coordinates you gave," he said, his voice calm but tinged with awe. "No human's been this close in years." Rose nodded, her eyes never leaving the wreck. "We're not here for the ship," she said softly. "We're here for what it's still holding." As the craft glided forward, the cameras caught glimpses of broken chandeliers, scattered porcelain, and tattered remnants of luxury frozen in silt. The Titanic lay split in two, her decks collapsing inward like the bones of an ancient creature. Fish darted through open windows where once there had been laughter, music, and light. Every movement stirred up a cloud of rust, drifting like brown snow through the still water. The submersible light swept across the debris field, a haunting mosaic of personal memories. A cracked violin case. A silver teapot. A man's pocket watch stopped at 2:20. Rose's throat tightened. She remembered that night, not the shipwreck itself, but the stories, the voices, the faces of those who had lived it. Her grandmother had told her everything, and though she had never met Jack Dawson, she felt as if she had known him all her life. He was more than a legend, he was a heartbeat that refused to fade. Then something flickered on the sonar, a faint metallic reflection deeper in the sand, not part of the known wreckage. Liam leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. "There's something there. Looks like another object, maybe 10 meters from the boat. It's not on any of the scans." "Take us closer," Rose said. The sub tilted forward, engines humming softly. The light beam revealed a mound of debris partly buried in the sediment. At first, it looked like a collapsed section of railing, but as they drew nearer, Rose saw a glint of blue beneath the silt, faint but unmistakable. Her breath caught. "Stop here," she said quickly. Liam steadied the sub and extended the mechanical arm. The claw moved delicately through the water, brushing away layers of mud and rust. Slowly, something shimmered back at him, a small object, heart-shaped, deep sapphire blue with a silver chain coiled around it. "The heart of the ocean," Rose whispered, her voice trembling. Liam looked at her. "I thought that was lost, thrown into the sea years ago." Rose smiled faintly, eyes glistening. "It was. That's exactly where it belongs." The cameras zoomed in, and the necklace seemed to glow faintly, as if lit from within by something alive. The sapphire caught the beam of the sub's light and refracted it into dozens of ghostly rays that danced through the dark water. For a moment, it almost looked like starlight under the sea. Rose reached out again, her fingertips brushing the glass. Memories flooded her, the stories of love and loss, of promises made beneath a freezing sky, of a man who gave everything to save another. She closed her eyes and felt tears burn behind them. "He's still here," she whispered. The ocean around them seemed to respond. A low groan echoed from the wreck, a shifting of metal deep inside the hull. Liam tensed, checking the monitors. "Pressure change, something's moving down there." "Stay calm," Rose said, though her own pulse quickened. The camera swiveled back toward the Titanic's bow. For a brief moment, in the haze of stirred-up silt, the beams of light formed shapes, silhouettes of figures walking the deck, faint outlines of faces long gone. Rose blinked, and they vanished, leaving only the dark again. Liam's voice was hushed. "Did you see that?" "Yes," she said. "I think the sea remembers." They hovered there in silence. Outside, the heart of the ocean lay perfectly still, untouched by time. Rose felt a deep pull, not of fear, but a destiny. She had come to uncover history, but now it felt like history was reaching back toward her. The sea wasn't giving up its secrets, it was sharing them, piece by piece. "Let's retrieve it," Liam said finally, hand on the controls. But Rose shook her head. "No, leave it. It belongs to the deep. Some love stories aren't meant to be disturbed." The sub's engines hummed softly as it began to rise, the light slowly fading from the necklace below. As they ascended, Rose looked down one last time at the Titanic, her silent monument resting in eternal stillness. She imagined the music that had once filled those halls, the laughter, the dancing, the promise of a future that never came. And somewhere in the shadows of her memory, she could almost hear a familiar voice, Jack's voice, whispering through the water, "You'll never let go." A tear rolled down her cheek, disappearing into the collar of her suit. Above them, the black turned to deep blue as they neared the surface. The mission was over, but Rose knew something had changed. The ocean had spoken, and soon, the world would listen. Far below, in the quiet dark, the heart of the ocean shimmered one last time, releasing a faint trail of light that drifted upward, like a message rising from the past. Then, just as suddenly, it was gone, swallowed again by the silence of the deep, where memories sleep and legends wait to be reborn. The sun rose like liquid gold over the Atlantic, painting the waves with streaks of amber and silver. The air was crisp, filled with excitement, camera flashes, and the faint hum of engines preparing to carry history back to sea. A century after the tragedy, the world had gathered to witness something unimaginable, the rebirth of a legend. The Titanic II stood gleaming in the morning light, her hull pristine white, her name engraved in gold along the side, bold and defiant against the horizon. Crowds filled the docks, journalists, historians, descendants of the original passengers, and curious onlookers who had traveled across continents for this day. The atmosphere was electric, thick with nostalgia and hope. Drone cameras hovered overhead, capturing the grandeur of the moment as an announcer's voice echoed across the harbor. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice boomed, "welcome to the launch of the most advanced ship ever built, a tribute to the human spirit and the enduring legacy of the greatest ship of all time." Applause erupted, and confetti burst into the sky like tiny, shimmering fragments of the past. On the red carpet leading to the gangway, officials in dark suits shook hands and posed for photographs. Reporters swarmed, microphones raised, broadcasting to millions watching around the world. Through the chaos, a quiet figure emerged from the crowd. Rose Dawson, older but still graceful, walked slowly toward the ship. Her hair, now silver, caught the morning light like threads of memory. She wore a navy coat and carried a small satchel, her movements calm, her expression unreadable. This was not just another voyage for her, it was a pilgrimage. As she approached the gangway, a reporter recognized her. "Dr. Dawson, over here. A few words for the press. What does this moment mean to you?" Rose paused, looking up at the towering ship. Her eyes softened. "It's more than steel and engines," she said quietly. "It's about remembering what was lost, and what was found." Her words rippled through the crowd like a whisper from another time. Cameras clicked, but Rose barely noticed. She was looking at the ship's name, Titanic II, painted in elegant script across the hull. For a heartbeat, she imagined she saw another name beneath it, faint and ghost-like, Titanic. The letters shimmered, then vanished with a blink. The ship's captain, a tall man in his 40s named Adrian Keller, greeted her at the top of the gangway. "Dr. Dawson," he said warmly, shaking her hand. "It's an honor to have you aboard. We've all read your work on the original wreck. You've kept its story alive." Rose smiled faintly. "Some stories never really die, Captain." As they stepped onto the deck, a soft wind swept through, carrying the scent of salt and distant rain. The ship was enormous, 10 decks high, polished wood gleaming beneath modern glass and metal. It looked like a dream reimagined, a blend of old-world elegance and futuristic design. Chandeliers sparkled inside the grand atrium, polished brass railings gleamed under the sunlight. Crew members moved about with precision, adjusting lines and preparing for departure. Passengers in elegant attire explored the open decks, taking selfies and sipping champagne. But Rose's attention wasn't on the people or the luxury, it was on the sea. She leaned on the railing, staring out at the horizon where sky met water. Her reflection shimmered faintly on the glass panel beside her, and then, for the briefest moment, another reflection appeared next to hers. A man's silhouette, young, familiar. She blinked, heart skipping a beat, but when she turned, there was no one there. Only the glint of sunlight and the distant call of a gull. She closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. "Don't do this to me," she whispered to herself. Down below, the ship's horn blared, a deep, resonant sound that rolled across the water like thunder. The crowd onshore cheered as ropes were cast off and the ship began to move. The Titanic II glided forward, cutting through the calm waves with the same grace as her predecessor once had. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Inside the bridge, Captain Keller gave the order, "Engines ahead." The massive turbines roared to life, sending a low vibration through the decks. The ship's motion was smooth, almost ethereal. Rose could feel the power beneath her feet, the pulse of the ocean resonating through every rivet and beam. She walked the deck slowly, her mind drifting between past and present. In the distant hum of the engines, she thought she heard echoes of music, faint strains of a violin playing, "Nearer, my God, to thee." It was impossible, yet there it was, carried on the wind. As the ship cleared the harbor, the sunlight brightened, casting the ocean in a shimmer of blues and silvers. The passengers applauded, waving at the disappearing shoreline. Drones swooped low for final shots, capturing the majestic image of the Titanic 2 setting sail, history reborn. Rose turned her gaze downward and noticed a small plaque fixed to the railing near her. It read, "In memory of those who sailed before us. May their journey guide ours." Her fingers traced the inscription, and she felt an ache of remembrance. "You're still here," she whispered. "Aren't you?" And then she felt it, a sudden chill, a faint breath of cold air that didn't belong in the warm sunlight. She looked out over the sea again, and for just a heartbeat, the waves shimmered strangely. Out on the horizon, through a thin mist, she thought she saw another ship, shadowy, spectral, gliding silently alongside them. It looked old, familiar, impossible. The image flickered, then disappeared as the mist cleared. A voice came softly behind her. "Beautiful day for a voyage." Rose turned, startled. A man stood a few feet away, tall, dressed in a simple white shirt and suspenders, his face calm, kind. He looked exactly as she remembered from the old photographs, from the stories her grandmother had told her, from dreams she had long forgotten. Her breath caught. "Jack," she whispered. He smiled faintly, eyes full of warmth and mystery. "You kept your promise." The wind stirred her hair, and for a second, she could almost feel the deck shift beneath them, as if time itself trembled. When she blinked again, he was gone. Only the horizon remained, endless, glimmering, and alive. Somewhere deep inside, Rose knew this was only the beginning. The sea was stirring, the past was awakening, and whatever waited out there in the vast Atlantic had finally decided it was time to be found.